Video blog.
Hey there, this is Tim from Twice Circled, and welcome to episode 3 of the official Big Pharma video blog. Now in today's episode I'm going to be showing off the brand new expansion mechanic that I've been working on over the last month. I talked about it a little bit recently in a blog piece on the website. And in that I go into more detail about the design requirements for the system and how I believe the system I've come up with delivers on those. But in this episode I'm mainly just going to be showing off the mechanics and seeing what you guys think. Kind of connected to the expansion mechanic is the replacement for the old port system. They're now called sockets. You can actually see a couple of them in right here. Here's a couple of sockets attached to the wall. I'll be showing how those work and why I think they're a massive improvement over the ports that we had recently. I'll also be just talking about anything that jumps into my head while I'm kind of playing a short game and talking about that. Alright, so let's jump into a game. Okay, so this is what it looks like now when you start a new game of Big Pharma. There should be some pretty obvious differences to anybody who's been watching the previous video blogs. For starters, we've got rid of that boring square factory floating in a sea of nothingness that you used to start with before. You're now assigned a random plot in a random building in a randomly generated map of plots that you can expand into. You can no longer expand in every direction. You're now restricted in, you can only expand to, like I say, these fixed pre-generated plots, and you can only expand to the ones next to you, or ones that are connected by a dotted line between buildings. So because I've got this plot here, I can connect to this building, but I can't connect to this one or this one. And we'll do a little bit of expansion once we kind of get into a game, but for starters, I'll just, I'll start using what we've actually got. The other big difference you'll see is that each plot starts with a couple of sockets. Well, not every plot has sockets, but starting plots always do. And sockets are, as I've talked about before, they're the replacement for the for ports. So you no longer have to build ports, which was always a bit of a chore. I thought it was always kind of let's just whack a port here because we want to export our goods. Now you're gonna have to think a lot more carefully about the setup of your production lines. For example, this starting plot, it's already kind of going to shape my gameplay a little bit. I've got two ports and they're not next to each other, they're on opposite sides. So I'm going to have one as an input, one as an output. So what should we go for our starting production line? Well, these are the ingredients I have available. I've added a few more effects since the last vlog on the concentration mechanic. Let's have a little look. Do we have any nice overlaps? No, they don't overlap. Let's see. That would work. Okay. So I'm just looking at these two. So currently, this is a kind of a high-risk option actually, because I have to actually do quite a lot of work to this before I can. These are actually good, because currently they're both just negative side effects. You know what, maybe just for our first one, just so I can get some money in, I'm actually just going to start with this very simple one, because I've kind of lucked out, the concentration is already where I want it, but it's nice that I don't have to build any concentration changing machines. So as I say, it kind of shapes your kind of strategy from the very beginning, this new kind of plot and socket mechanic. So because I've only got 2 sockets in my starting plot, and I don't want to just waste money by buying plots straight away, I've only got 10,000, it goes pretty quickly. I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to have one input, one output, so I'm definitely not going to do any mixing of ingredients. I'm only going to be processing them. And I was thinking, well, I could make lots of machines and change some of these, try and change these concentrations to I think, if I get it to 40%, have I got this right? Yeah, anywhere between 30 and 40%, and I can get those two to overlap. But I'm going to kind of try that later, maybe in the next plot over. So yeah, I kind of like that. I think it guides you a little bit more when you start playing. Because before it was very much, the world was your oyster. You could expand as much as you wanted. You didn't start off with any sockets. You could build as many ports as you wanted to, and it was very easy to bite off more than you could chew. So I think this kind of helps, especially when you're on your very first game. This new system helps kind of kind of hold your hand a little bit more. So I'll talk a little bit more about how you expand. So you'll see that all three of these plots that we have available here cost 1,000. And the way the system works is that when you buy a new plot, let's buy this one next door, what happens is all of the plots you buy subsequently will cost a little bit more. So actually every plot always costs the same, except when you buy a plot, the rest of the plots will go up in price, and it goes up by £100 between 1,000 and 2,000, and then it starts going up by 200 at a time. So it goes up exponentially, and the idea behind this is that you have to kind of be very careful to only expand when you really need to, because every single time you get a plot, you're pushing up the price of every other plot. So it's kind of got this very long-lasting knock-on effect throughout your entire game. Sorry. I like that because it really forces you to think, how am I going to make the best use of the space I have available? Let's use this second one and try a different type of drug. So what are we making here? We're making just an anti-heartburn pill. That's giving us a little bit of profit. That's okay. But this one we're going to try and get the concentration down to between 30 and 40. So I've got all the machines. I'm cheating a little bit. You wouldn't normally have this. Normally I'd have to use a load of dissolvers to do this. So I probably wouldn't want to do this until later. But now I can actually just use, is it 2 ionizers? We'll get that down to 30 exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Now ionizers have a process time of 1. So I'm going to put it straight through those. And then we'll look at making a couple of pill makers here. It's funny, you kind of quite quickly when you're playing this game, you get into your own kind of rhythm of how you build stuff. I tend to always build my machines first. And then I connect them all up with conveyor belts. Oh yeah, I build my machines and my T-junctions. And then I do all the conveyor belts at the end. It'd be nice once you can actually lift up and move the machines once you've built them. That'll be nice because you won't be as scared of putting machines in the wrong place. So let's watch this in action. So we're reducing the concentration down to 50, which gets us to this, which is not bad. So we got a no effect and a painkiller, although currently looking at a profit of just plus 14, not as good as what we've got here. But then we do another ionizer, which takes it down to 30%, and now we have a dual cure, something that soothes cold symptoms and is a painkiller. And we could actually look at putting this for a sachet fabricator, because this increases the combined value by 15 for each positive effect in the drug. And because it's got a process cost of 10, it is worth it even with just one. It does have quite a long process time, but you know what, look at this, it fits so easily. I think we should just do it. And so yeah, we'll actually be selling 2 different types of cures. Now, okay, I've been kind of not talking about this, but I've got a bit of time now. You will have noticed that there's these new things. I'm calling them drug bubbles because you have to give everything a name. Now these things kind of replace selecting the ports that we used to have. So we used to have importers and exporters. You click on an importer and you could see what you're importing. And actually I never got around to making it so if you clicked on an export you can see what you're exporting, but I've got that in now. So whenever you start importing something, you get this little drug bubble kind of showing you what's happening, and you can select it and you can see what you're importing. You can also stop it by clicking that button. And what's nice now is you also got this exporting one, so you can select that and you can see what the final price of the thing you're selling is. And this updates basically to be the last sold drug. So you've got this one here. So the pill I'm selling is for plus 41, and then the sachet I'm selling I'm getting plus 56. So yeah, definitely worth making that sachet maker, giving us a bit of extra profit. So I think this is quite nice because when you zoom out a little bit, at a glance you can kind of see, well look, we're turning this one, you might be able to recognize it just from the ingredient screen. I'm turning this one and this one into this and this. So yeah, I think it adds a nice little aesthetic. It's a little bit, I'm definitely doing a lot less kind of clicking of individual drugs since I've added these drug bubbles, which I think is a good thing. And you'll notice if you zoom out too much, then they kind of disappear, so it doesn't get too kind of messy. Okay, so I've jumped ahead a little bit in the video now because I wanted to get to this stage so I can kind of talk about a few more things. I've now got to the stage where I've basically filled this first building in terms of I've used every single socket that's available to me. So I'm kind of importing things here and exporting them here. I'm actually splitting this one off, mixing it with this ingredient here to catalyze a reaction before taking it all the way down and selling it here. And then this is actually my most profitable one. It's the last one I made. Importing here and selling here. But let's look into a little bit more detail about the sorts of cures that I'm selling. So here, I'm just selling a level 1, super cheap, okay profit. Here, it's a bit better. We're selling kind of 2 level 1s overlapping. We're making use of the sachet maker. Here, this is my highest level cure, is over here. We've got a stroke prevention medication called Eupatox. But it causes a couple of side effects, so it kind of went a little bit wrong. I wanted to use a cream maker, but unfortunately I couldn't fit in the cream maker into the space I had available because I basically built this bit of the production line really inefficiently. And then over here we have my most profitable one, where I managed to get a level 1 and a level 2 to overlap. It's funny, these actually only overlap at 55% exactly, so it was kind of lucky that I had a multiple of 5. I think it starts off at 20%. If that had been 21%, it wouldn't have been possible. But that's my most profitable one. But it's still only level 1s and level 2s, and like I said, I had like 1 level 3 over here. So here's the thing, you kind of at the beginning, you kind of use up all your sockets you have available. It's for the kind of the low-hanging fruit, you go for the level 1s and level 2s, and you don't really worry too much about it. But there's still all this kind of wasted space, and what I'm hoping is this new plots and sockets mechanic, mainly the plot mechanic. Because you've got this wasted space, because you can't tailor the exact amount you expand, you can't buy one tile at a time, you have to buy them kind of the plots as these job lots. You'll end up with some wasted space, and it'll encourage you to kind of fill it out with more machines, climb higher in the tech tree to maximize your profits in a way that it didn't before. I think I still need to do a little bit more balancing. I think at the moment it's still too cheap. I mean, I've got 32,000 in the bank, so something's kind of not more expensive enough. I think really these plots probably need to be 2 to 3 times more expensive, and they need to get expensive quicker. So it really is a big deal actually jumping over to a new building. You'll really want to kind of maximize the profit you have available in this building first. But I don't know, once we add kind of research and discovery costs in, then we might find the plots are expensive enough. I've got loads of money because I started off with every single machine. Normally you'd have to research like the ionizer, the multi-mixer, the sachet maker, so this wouldn't really be possible. So that's it for plots. I hope that gives you an idea of how they work. Just for fun, let's just kind of buy a load of new ones just to kind of show you that working a bit more. Oh, that was it. Sorry, I wanted to mention one more thing. This building here has loads and loads of sockets, and so probably a different strategy would be more viable there. With this many sockets, it'd be more viable to go for the low-hanging fruit, and that would be the way to maximize the profit. Whereas with this one, with less sockets, you're kind of wanting to kind of climb higher in the tech trees. So I quite like that. You're kind of gently pushed one way or the other, depending on where you start and what you have available to you. And I think that's nice. I think it's especially good for new players to kind of get a little bit of a push. Kind of this might be the way you can be most efficient. Okay, but yeah, so that's probably it for the plots. I'll mention one more thing about the sockets. I like them because they kind of dictate gameplay a little bit more, and they add a few more restrictions, so you've got to play a bit more inventively. The other reason I like them is now you can go straight into a wall, whereas before you used to have a port on the edge, and you could only enter it from one direction. And I think this is so much nicer now. Like you can have. They don't take up any space, your importers or exporters. You could have a T-junction, as you can see here, directly next to the wall, and it works nice and efficiently. To kind of get stuff out of your factory. So that's a big improvement. The final thing I want to talk to you about just before wrapping up is I have been listening to you in the comments sections. A few people have suggested I change the way the T-junctions work so that they're a bit better at keeping things moving. And for this video I did I spent some time kind of changing the way they work, and now they're much better at keeping things flowing. You'll kind of see, I don't know if I can find any good examples of T-junctions working well. Let me see. Maybe not. I'll have to show that to you in another video. But yeah, they are much better at keeping things flowing. In fact, you would have been able to see it at the very beginning of this video when I had those 3 sachet makers running in tandem. They no longer insist on alternating their kind of routes. They now, if they can move, they will always move, and it definitely keeps your production lines flowing better. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'm not going to answer questions like I normally do. What I've decided to do is I'm going to do that in a separate video. I'm going to answer questions. So I'll probably do that one quite soon because I've already got a load of good questions from you guys to answer. The reason I'm doing that is because there's actually quite a lot of questions. I think I've got like 10 to 15 to go through, and you know, it would double the length of the video if I went through all of them at the end. So yeah, that's something to look forward to next week. Final shout out to the development newsletter. It really is the best place. The Twice Circled development newsletter really is the like the number one thing you should sign up to if you're interested in this game or what I do, because it not only means you've got the first chance of alpha testing the game next year when we start that process, but you also means you're never going to miss a blog post or a video blog, because you'll always get that email direct to your inbox once a month. So you can sign up to that at the Twice Circled website, and there'll be a link below this video in the description. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video enjoyable, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.